Hello and welcome. This is the Midday News. The Ombudsman Commission has used its constitutional powers to prevent further release of public funds to various claims. This is pending investigations that the Ombudsman Commission is carrying out into the possible misapplication of those funds.
Information with the Ombudsman Commission suggests that a total of 64 claims were raised through the Ministry of Finance and submitted to the Department of Finance for payment. The Commission was informed that the claims submitted dated back to 2011 and that the claims were submitted without confirmation by the Arrears Verification Committee, or AVC. It was also reported that the claims were missing supporting documents, were excessive, and that they did not have the necessary documentation required to justify such payment. On November 12, 2024, the Ombudsman Commission issued the constitutional direction to the Minister for Finance, the Secretary for Finance, the Minister for Works and Highways, the Minister for Treasury, the Secretary for Treasury, the Governor of the Bank of PNG, and to all the heads of commercial banks and their servants and agents to stop the disbursement of 64 claims totaling 254,686,201 kina 24 toya. The direction was issued under Section 27(4) of the Constitution to attain the objectives of the Leadership Code and to protect the integrity of the leaders who were involved in the payments. The direction effectively stopped all payments, transactions, release, clearance, or disbursement of each of the 64 claims that were listed in the table submitted to the Department of Finance for processing. All commercial banks, including the Central Bank, have just been directed not to process any of these claims except upon final approval granted by the Ombudsman Commission. Freddie Mo, TVWAN News.
A first-of-its-kind community justice fund program was launched yesterday in Port Moresby, aimed at supporting local organizations involved in providing care to victims of gender-based violence, sorcery, accusation-related violence, and any other forms of violence. The program, under the Australia-Papua New Guinea Law and Justice Partnership, will contribute to building PNG's law and justice sector capacity to provide an inclusive, safe, secure and accountable law and justice foundation for peaceful and prosperous communities, equitable economic development and private sector growth. The program addresses three core justice issues: gender-based violence, sorcery, accusation relations violence, and corruption.
For children, and it runs through to the 10th of December, which is International Human Rights Day. And during those 20 days, we're also going to mark, among other days, the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women, Women's Human Rights Defenders Day, the International Day for Persons with Disability, and International Anti-Corruption Day. Papua New Guinea's national theme for the 20 Days of Activism this year is "It's my responsibility. Let's work together to prevent all forms of violence." And that's why we decided to mark the commencement of the 20 Days of Activism with this launch of the Community Justice Fund, because the fund will put resources directly into the hands of those who defend human rights in PNG's communities every single day.
Launch of the Community Justice System Fund has been done, and so we thank you for that. It represents an important milestone in our nation's journey toward a more just and equitable society.
The remote communities of Fly Kiwai local level government in South Fly district of Western Province are finally seeing tangible progress in their quest for better infrastructure and improved living conditions as the long-awaited construction materials for the Rural Service Delivery Project reached them from Daru. This development marks a significant milestone for the Fly Kiwai communities who have endured more than 6 months of delay waiting for the essential building supplies to arrive. The remote communities of Fly Kiwai local level government received the supplies worth 1.4 million kina this week. The supplies are now en route to respective wards, bringing new hope to the 10 communities eagerly anticipating the start of their sub-projects. The Fly Kiwai communities opted for a focus on infrastructure projects rather than a broader mix of initiatives like solar lighting or water supply systems. The challenging geographical and logistical circumstances of this remote area necessitated a robust approach to infrastructure, resulting in the selection of 10 different construction projects aimed at bolstering community services. The journey to get the building materials to Fly Kiwai has been fraught with obstacles. The region's isolation and lack of accessible transport routes have made logistics a persistent challenge, worsening delays. The Western Province is known for its difficult terrain, making transportation time-consuming and costly. The lengthy wait for supplies underscores the reality of working in one of Papua New Guinea's most remote LLGs. Nevertheless, the determination of the local leadership and project stakeholders has been unwavering. A baby girl from PEBL village in Telefomin district was named after the mission aviation pilot Glenys Watson, who saved her life. MAF pilot Glenys Watson flew the medevac when an HF radio call for help sparked a dramatic change of plan for a MAF team that was about to fly from Telefomin to Mount Hagen. With urgency and precision, Glenys checked the fuel, weather and airstrip data, loaded a stretcher on board, and within minutes, they were airborne, headed for PEBL. PEBL, located near the Papua border, is completely isolated, no road access and without nearby medical facilities. Deeply moved, the mother Kilda made a gesture of gratitude. She decided to name her newborn after Glenys, the pilot. An intense downpour in the west and unusually cool conditions in the southeast. Queenslanders are getting an early taste of the extreme summer season ahead. Charleville has been swamped by a 1-in-50-year rain event, while dreary skies over Brisbane gave the capital its coldest November day in 12 years. Heavy rain is expected to move north over the coming days.
Water laps this southwest Queensland home after almost 100 millimetres fell near Charleville in just 1 hour, a 1-in-50-year weather event. In the southeast, no way through after days of downpours. Commuters in Brisbane's west diverted after localised flooding forced road closures.
We have already started to see an active severe weather season.
Mount Cootha's waterways were topped up as the southeast copped persistent rain.
Caboolture, we saw just under 100 millimetres. I think it ended up with 98 millimetres to 9 a.m. this morning, and also a couple of locations on the Sunshine Coast.
Enoggera Dam overflowing, one of 6 spilling across the state. Attention now turning north. 200
millimetres is certainly a potential 24-hour rainfall that we might end up with in a couple of gauges around the Central Coast. Unfortunately, at this stage, the exact locations where we might see those falls is not very certain.
The Disaster Management Committee is planning ahead for the high-risk summer.
It's important that ministers, departments and agencies are all on the same page ahead of the disaster season. It's important that we send the message that we are ready.
When we do see heavy downfalls in isolated areas, we see rapid rises in those creek systems, and that's now that we've had this rainfall early in the season, we'll see that throughout the season.
And a warning for people risking floodwaters.
We lose more lives during a disaster season by reckless behaviour of driving through water than we do from the disaster.
Over 700 students in Kokopo participated in the Olympic Values Education Program, or OVEP, from November 14th to the 16th, 2024. Led by Team PNG hero athletes Olympian Reli Kaputin, Kelelesi and Gantiana Joseph inspired students with stories of respect, excellence and friendship, linking these values to sports and life. The program, which included a touched football tournament at Kalamanugunan Primary School also emphasized environmental sustainability through the Love Your Coast initiative, advocating for reduced plastic pollution. The PNG Olympic Committee praised the program's success and plans to expand it, reinforcing their commitment to youth empowerment and the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Kuku District in Central Province has commenced its selection trials at Berena Station in preparation for the Southern Region Youth Games slated for April next year. The 4-day trial is aimed at selecting best players, fighters and athletes in each sporting code to make up Team Kuku. He says the trials began with boxing, volleyball, darts, soccer, touch footy, netball, while athletics will be held on Friday. He thanked the local MP and Vice Minister for Works and Highways, Peter Isoaimo, for his support in having the selection trials get off the ground. Isoaimo will officiate the closing ceremony on Saturday. And finally, the Port Moresby Elite Basketball League is gearing up for its inaugural grand final this Sunday, marking a significant moment for basketball in Papua New Guinea. Designed to elevate the sport, PEBL has introduced professional FIBA standard rules, distinguishing itself from other local leagues and setting a benchmark for competitive basketball. The Port Moresby Elite Basketball League, or PEBL, a groundbreaking competition aimed at raising the standard of basketball in Papua New Guinea, is set to cap off its inaugural season with a high-stakes grand final this Sunday.
Basketball's been run, but it's been run where you have what's called running time, and there's no 24-second shot clock. When we play overseas or when we play at the Pacific Games, every time the whistle stops, the whistle blows, for example, is a time stops. And so every time a team has the ball, they have 24 seconds to shoot the ball. Otherwise, it's a turnover to the other side. Because of this what we call FIBA ruling, the game could last up to 2 hours with all the stoppages and that sort of thing. So that's how we differentiate it. We've called it elite for that factor as well, that we want to make sure the game is played at an elite level, at a level where the same type of mechanics, when you go for a Pacific Games, when you go for an Oceania basketball tournament, those are the same technical aspects that will be there. So it's nothing foreign to our players.
The league features 6 men's teams and 5 women's teams, culminating in Sunday's finals, where Sivpeka Messi and Tribes Coffee will compete in both divisions. The stakes are high, with an unprecedented 30,000 kina prize money awarded to the winners of each division. The league has received a significant backing, with PNG LNG ExxonMobil as its major sponsor, alongside Togoba Coffee and Tribes Coffee. PEB Director Lawrence Lahari praised them for their dedication to the sport.
I must say a big thank you to both Togoba Coffee and Tribes Coffee, two really well-established Papua New Guinean companies, and they're both real keen supporters of basketball. And so to have both, there's a running battle of the coffees, acknowledge our major sponsor, PNG LNG ExxonMobil. They've really bought into what we're about and where we want to sort of establish an elite basketball league nationwide. In the coming years. It's not going to happen next year, but that is our plan. We want to ensure that we've got basketball played right around the country.
The grand final matches will be held at the PEBL venue, with the women's game starting at 1 p.m. and the men's at 3 p.m. Fans are encouraged to attend with affordable gate fees of 5 kina and a promise of family-friendly entertainment. PEBL has drawn attention from prominent figures, with invitations extended to the Sports Minister, PNG Sports Foundation CEO and league patron David Were. Lahari sees this weekend's grand final as a celebration of basketball and an inspiration for young players. As PEB concludes its first season, the league has not only set a new standard for local basketball, but also laid the groundwork for a stronger, more competitive future for the sport in PNG. Kaokiru Jr., TVWAN Sports. And that ends the midday news. Do join us at 6 tonight for the main news. Bye for now.